right? You have studied this in the previous meeting, right? Okay, so two jobs, right? Two important jobs: coordination and overseeing, right? And the subject for that is the work of other people in the organization, right? And for the purpose of what? Of achieving the goals that have been set up for or established for that organization, right? So managers work in organizations. Because there will be someone for them to coordinate the work and to supervise as well, right? And there should be someone who are subordinates of the manager. And remember that in the previous meeting we mentioned about three levels of managers, right? The first line, the one who work directly with the non-managerial employees, and the second is the middle managers, and the third, the top managers. Three important levels for the managers. And of course, there should be, several sub-levels in each level, right? For example, for the second level, the midline managers, right? We may have several people, in the same groups within the same group, right? And also for the top managers, you may have the, the chairman of the managing board, or the managing directors, right? Include, all of the directors in the company, right? So managers work in organization and they supervise or they coordinate and oversee the works of other people who are called their subordinates. Right. And every organization exists for some purposes, right? For some purposes, right? And they often deliver the goods or services to their community, to their target market, the goods and services to the target market, right? Each organization has its own target markets, maybe one target market, or several target markets at the same time, right? And they need to deliver the goods or services to that market, right? To those target markets, right? And how could they get the goods or services, right? They need some inputs, and then they transform the inputs into outputs, right? They need some inputs from outside, right? And then they need to do some action to transform the inputs into outputs, right? And this is the transformation process in the organizations, very typical one, right? You can see, right? You need to mobilize the organizational resources like people, like money, like raw materials and capital resources as well, right? They are classified as inputs, right? They are classified as inputs. And then you will need to put the inputs into the production process, right? We need to input inputs into the production process. And then you can have the outputs. And the outputs can be considered as the finished product. And then you can deliver the products into the target market, right? Right. And they can be goods or services, depends on the needs of the organization, right? Can be goods or services, depends on the business of the organization, right? So think of the organization that you are working for now, the organization that you are yourself are working for now. Can you tell me the inputs for one typical production process of that organization? Remember, just need to mention the one typical production process and identify the inputs for that. Think of the organization that you are working for now. Right, 1 minute for you to think, and then I will call the name. Understand my question? If not, raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Ling, can you answer my question?
An example, and when we build a house, the input is construction material like brick, cement, aggregate, and the worker, and the production process, which is an construction, and the output is a house.
You might be correct, but I'm asking about an organization, right? So you need to tell me about the organization first. The organization first, and that business. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that organization and that business. Let me just take an example about. You told me something about building a project, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What type of organization is that?
So organization is a construction company.
Yes. So you are working for a construction company, right? And they may run several businesses at the same time, right? They may do trading material, do they? Trading materials, you understand that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They may do contracts as well, construction contracts as well, right?
Yes.
Right. So, and you are telling us about that kind of services is the construction service, right? Is that correct?
Yes, and
Yeah, which is a good service, right? And you told us that you need some tire materials like cement, bricks, right, steel, etc., right, in order to build up the buildings, right? And the production process is the construction process, and then output is the finished or a complete building to hand over to the client, right? Okay, good. So remember to relate that with to the organization and the business of that organization. Okay, right. So when you manage the transformation processes, right, you need to be concerned about something, and the technical things will be the job of the technicians, or the non-managerial employees of the organization. And some of the concerns are about using the resources, in the transformation processes. The resources here can be considered as the inputs to the production processes, right? And there are two concerns in the transformation processes, which are considered as the duty of the managers. or what the managers or what the management is about. There are two concerns, and they are called the managerial concerns. Managerial concerns, right? The first thing is efficiency, and the second is effectiveness. Efficiency and effectiveness, right? Very, very important keywords to be concerned in management. Efficiency and effectiveness, right? Whenever you do anything, right? Whenever you do anything for your organization, because of the limit in the resources available in the organizations, you always need to think of the efficiency. Right? Efficiency means doing things right. Doing things right. It means you trying to get the most output for the least inputs. While effectiveness means doing the right things. Doing the right things. It means attaining the organizational goals. So the first thing, efficiency, is about the processes, the progress, about the whole duration of the production processes. But the second one is just concerned about the end point, the finish point, the outcomes of the production processes. Right. That's why you can see that when you are concerning about efficiency, it means you are concerning about the means for the production processes. The means, you know that word? Means, means, what does it mean?
Ý nghĩa.
No, not ý nghĩa.
Hiệu quả.
Average.
Average? No, not average. It's not in statistics. Nguyên, any idea?
No. Sorry.
Means là gì? What does means mean? Mean là phương tiện. Phương tiện. Nghĩa khác. Đó. Nghĩa khác. Okay. Right. Means phương tiện. Right. So when you talk about efficiency, right, you need to think about the resource uses. The resources here is means. The means, to support, to facilitate the production processes, to support, right? Right. Without the means, you cannot do that, right? And in the resource uses, you are targeting to low waste, right? Low waste. So it means, getting the most output for the least inputs, right? That's the mean. Right, and the second thing about the ends, effectiveness means the ends, the outcome, right? The goals attainment, right? What you got after the processes, after the production processes completes, right? The goals. And what you are targeting to is high attainment, right? High attainment means doing the right things, right? Right. So even when you are targeting to the goals, you also need to consider the efficiency, right? And even when you are concerning about the efficiency, you need to think of the effectiveness. You need to think about the goals, right? So they are linked very closely. Efficiency and effectiveness, they are linked very closely, right? That's why the managers, they need to concern about both low resource waste. It means high efficiency and high goal attainment. It means high effectiveness. Right. So in order for you to remember this and to compare efficiency or to differentiate between efficiency and effectiveness very easily, I will tell you another example. Right. For example, you got a job that needs engineers, construction engineer, for example, right, to do, and the requirements for the experience is right. And in your company, you got some engineers, for example, three engineers, one with only 1 year experience, one 5 years, and another one 10 years experience. Right. So if you are just concerned about the efficiency, right, you may want to choose this person. Why? Because with different experience, with different levels of experience, people will get different payments. Salary, yes. Yeah, that's great. So the 1 year experience will have the lowest, right? And the 10 year will have the highest, right? Will get paid highest, and the 1 year will have paid lowest, right? So if you're just concerned about the efficiency, you will choose 1 year. And if you are just concerned about the effectiveness, it means you must have that job done. You must have that job done correctly, properly, right? Have that job done properly or correctly. You may have two choices or two options, right? 5 year and 10 year experience, right? But in theories, right, you need to balance. You need to balance efficiency and effectiveness. That's why in practice, you have only one choice, and what's that? One choice. What's that? Ling, what's the choice?
A 5-year engineer.
Yeah, 5 engineers. Why?
Because a 10-year engineer has a high salary, so it's not efficiency.
Okay, it's not efficient. Efficient.
Yeah.
This is the adjective, right? Right. And effective is another adjective for the second word. Efficiency and effectiveness. Efficient and effective, right? So 5 years is the best choice here, and then you can balance between the efficiency and the effectiveness, right? But unluckily, right, in reality, in practice, people often choose this one. Why? That's a practice, very, very popular practice in Vietnam, right? You just assign a job to people, right? And you may not care about their background, right? Their skills or something. just because you have to employ them. You have to employ them. You have to give them some jobs to do to get paid. That's it, right? So that's why you got like a group of CCCC. You know that? Or CCCCC. Yeah, just something like that. Right.
Yes.
So you have to try to avoid that, you know, in your job, in your work. Okay. Right. Okay. So this is the job of the managers to balance between efficiency and effectiveness to have the lowest waste in the resources used. Okay. And in reality, in order to solve some problems, or in order to achieve a goal that have been established for a specific organization, the manager often need to develop some options, right? They have to develop some options, and then they have to make choice from the options, the available options, right? Okay, let's say something more about the resource use and the accomplishment. You may see that there are 4 combinations of managerial effectiveness and efficiency, right? And of course, you need to find out the way to be in this box, right? Reaching goals and not wasting resources, right? But the acceptable one may be this one, acceptable. And you need to try to avoid this, especially this one. You see my mouse? Can you see my mouse on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So the best choice is this one, right? When you have both efficiency and effectiveness. And the acceptable one is this one, right? When you have effectiveness, it means you met your goals, but you used the resources in an inefficient way. The unacceptable ones include these, right? Especially this one, because you have nothing, even not reaching the goal, and also waste the resources, right? And in practice, people often experience this as well. Not only this, right? Sometimes you use the resources efficiently, but you may not get the goals, but you not achieve the goals that have been established for your organization, right? And how can the managers ensure? How can the manager ensure both efficiency and effectiveness in their organization? They need to do, or they need to conduct or carry out some actions, right? So activities, right? They can manage by conduct or carry out some actions like practical doing, they do that themselves, or by interact or communicate with others, with the organization, with the external context of the organization as well. Right. That's practical doing and interaction. These are the 2 important actions that the managers actually do in their job. Right. And they also need to do something in terms of reflection as well. Reflection, right? It means they need to think, right, about the organization or activities, about something further, right? And they need to have some skills for thoughtful thinking as well, right? think over about something, right? And then you can find out the way to manage the job efficiently and effectively, right? And yeah, as in the previous class meeting, we studied that there are 3 ways that a manager can manage in the organization: by managing action directly, right? Do plans for action, right? Mobilize people and other type resources to complete each actions, right? And then measuring the outcomes of the action as well, right? Another way is managing people who take action, right? You give instruction to people who take action, right? And then you control them, right? You monitor their activities, or you measure their performance, or by measuring information that propels people to take action, right? You distribute the information to the people in need, right? The people in need, right? And tell them what to do, what to expect to achieve, right? Tell them the mistakes that they may make in the future, etc. Right? And by communicating well with them, right? You can manage their organization, your organization.
Propels.
Right? And as you can see, right, in order to manage even by any of these 3 ways, right, you will need to start with the blending job first. And then some more jobs may follow, right? And these 4 jobs are called the key function of the managerial position, right? Key function, right? Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, right? Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, right? Regarding the first one, the first function, planning means defining the goals. And then organizing the resources. And then leading, right? Lead the people who do the job, and then controlling the whole process, and also the people as well. So, yeah. Okay, so coming back to the first one, blending job. Right. Planning means defining the goals, then establishing the strategies to achieve the goals, and then developing plans to coordinate the activities. Right. So, yeah, checking this definition, you may see that for the balance job, at first you need to identify the goals that you need to achieve. You need to achieve for the organization, or for any projects or any actions or activities of the organization, right? you need to identify the goals first, right? And as you can notice from the previous class meeting, the job of the managers is not only for the projects, for example, just the projects, but for many type of activities or businesses in the organization, right? So the planning jobs is applied not only for the project, not only for the entire organization, but for any of the activities that an organization, even big or small, need to pay attention to or need to carry a conduct, carry out our conduct. Right. And the goal first, right, the goals first. Right. And then in order to achieve the goals, you need to find out that your organization need to follow to achieve the goals. And for longer term, you may call them the strategy, right? And for short term, long-term strategy, and something like a little bit abstract, zero abstract. And for shorter term, you got plans, right? So start with identifying the goal first, and then establish the strategies, and then it develops the plans, right? And you will use those strategy and plans to monitor the progress and to coordinate the detailed activities, right? And you know that, right? In order to have a plans to be put in practice, you may need to develop or find out the viable options first, right? Viable option or solutions first, and then you choose the best one in your condition, in the context, right? And then you develop the plan for that, for the best choice. What is the best choice? It depends on the circumstance, right? There's no fixed rule for that, right? That's planning, right? I think you may want to have a short break, 5 minutes, before we continue to the second one. Okay, short break. Even all of them are viable. You know that word, viable?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, the viable one. But you also need to choose the best one in your condition. You know, it's like a local, let's say, locally best choice, but may not be globally best choice, right? It means within your condition is the best, but may not be the best all the time, right? And the second is organizing. When we are concerning about the resources mobilization, right? And in order to know what type of resource you need to use and mobilize, and when you need them, and about the quantity, right? You need to refer back to the plans that you have developed. You have to refer back to the plans that you have developed, and in there, right? You need to identify exactly what needs to be done in that activities, right? In the plans, and how it will be done, right? What type of technology, and then the resources will be used, you know, for that technology. And who is to do it? Who is responsible to do it? Who will be the one who will be the one that need to be reported to why you are doing it, right? So you may see that there are a number of people involved in one activity, right? And there are a number of people will be involved in that project or in that job as well. And you need to differentiate between their positions. You need to differentiate between their positions. Who will be the boss, right? Who will be the one who take orders, right? Okay. Who will be the boss? Who will be the member staff? Who will be the one to take orders? Who will be the one who need to report to someone, etc. Right? And who will be the one who approve, the activities or the orders or the requirements, inquiries, and even the finished product as well, right? And that's why the organizing function is related very closely with one we call the organizational structure. It is like a chart or graph. In there, you show the position for the job, right? And the link is between the position as well, right? And often the link is presented in terms of the information flow. Information flow, right? And then you can combine them to have the organization structure that is fit to your job, right? So organizing, right, is linked very closely with the organization structure, right? And the third function is leading, right? You may be asked very frequently ask questions. What is the difference between a manager and a leader? What are the differences between a manager and a leader? Right. And this can show you the difference. Manager is something, larger to cover all of those four functions, right? But the leaders is only, pay attention to the leading function, working with people, right? While the managers, they are not only working with the people, but they are also need to be concerned about the activities, the resources, and everything, right? So you're talking about the third function, leading. Leading means motivating. Leading and any other action involved dealing with people, right? In your organization structures, you've got a group of people there, right? And you need to deal with people, right? And that's the job of the manager. Right. That's the leading job. Right. What you need why you need a leader? You've got a plan, or you got some plans that develop very carefully, right? The plans are developed very carefully, and then you've got an organizational chart or structure. Expect that the job will be run very smoothly to get to the outcomes that you expect, the goals, to achieve the goals, right? But you can see, in the organizing function, we mentioned the last one is the phrase, who is to do it? Who is to do it? Right? Each job, each activity, right? And in your organization structure, you need to identify the roles of each position, the duties you will assign to each position, and of course you will set out the requirements in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, in terms of skills to each of the position. Right. And then you try to find out people that fit the position most and put them there. Right. Thinking about efficiency and effectiveness. Right. Right. But what people prove that they have, right, may not be the one they can show in practice. In the job. You check their degrees, certificates, etc. They've got a lot of certificates, right? And they will have real ability to do that, right? They have got real skill to do the job as well. But in reality, in practice, they may not do the job very well. They may not do the job very well. Because something like, it's just simple, like they just don't want to do that. They are capable. I don't say that they are not incapable. They are capable, right? They have ability to do that, but they just don't want to do that. That's the mood, not in the good mood, right? For example, and that's where the leader needs to come in to motivate them. Right? You have to set out some a system benefit and fine as well, right? Punishment, right? Reward and punishment, right? To motivate them to do the job better, right? And also, in order to help them to do the job well, right? You may want to give some initial instruction to them beforehand, before they do the job. All right. And that will help the subordinates of the managers to work better, to contribute more to the success of the jobs or the organization. Right. That's the third function. And the last one, controlling. Controlling means, at first, you need to monitor the activity. You need to monitor the activities, right? You've got a very detailed, maybe, right, plans. Yeah, a number of detailed plans that have been developed very carefully, right, with the activities, right? In your plans, you got the goals, objectives established for the job, right? It was something like a standard pair to check the outcome. If they meet standard, it means they are acceptable. If they don't meet standard, it means they are unacceptable, right? One example about standard, like when you pour concrete or slab, right? The tolerance or the differences, right? Deviation you may accept is like 1 centimeter, for example, with the one about 20 centimeters in thickness. This is the standard, right? And when you got a slab, a concrete poured, complete, right? You need to check with the tolerance to see if that slab is acceptable or not, right? So you got all of these, and you got a good leader as well who always motivate you to do the job, right? And you may expect that everything will run smoothly, and then you will very easily to achieve the goals and objectives for your organization of the job, right? But yeah, I believe that you are not a dreamer. You are not a daydreamer, right? Because you also need to deliver another function, and a function in your job is your management job, that is controlling, right? You need to monitor all of the activities in the plans, yeah, monitor all the activities here, right? And then you have to check and ensure that they can meet the standard. They can meet standard, right? And then the goals and objectives that have been established will be achieved, for the entire job, for the entire organization, right? But also in the progress. Also in progress, right? So that will differ controlling and checking, right? After getting the job done, you have to check the outcomes, right? So the final outcomes, right? But for controlling, you also need to think of the progress. It means not only at the ending point, you have to check the outcome versus the standards, but also in the progress. It means phases, in stages, in some more points in the middle of the progress as well, right? You have to check the outcomes and compare it with the standards. That's why in order to describe controlling, in more detail, they often use a series of verbs like monitor first, measure, compare, evaluate, or assess. And then act or action follows. Right. You have to monitor to record, right, information or data from the progress. Right, you have to monitor to record information. You can collect data. You can collect from the progress. Right, and at some certain point, beforehand is a blank, define in the blanks, right? You have to measure the outcome. You have to measure the outcome, right? And then you compare what you have measured, the practical outcome with what with standard. Standard has been defined in the detail blends in the blending function with the blend function, right? And then evaluate. It depends on the result of the evaluation. You may have different approaches to go with, right? Right. For example, right? In the plan, you expect to pour concrete for one foundation in 1 day. Sorry, in 3 days. And the amount of concrete to be poured is 1,200 cubic meter. Right, it means in average, need nothing serious, right? Average. Each day you need to pour 400 cubic meter, right? And on the first day, you just pour 399.5 cubic meter. The standard is 400 cubic meter per day. That's standard. And the actual outcome is 399.5 cubic meter. So when you do the comparison, right? Comparison, you will see there's a difference. The difference or deviation between the actual or practical outcome and the standard, right? The deviation is 0.5 cubic meter, right? And now you have to do the evaluation, right? Is 0.5 cubic meter acceptable or not? Do you accept that?
Yes, acceptable.
Okay, good. Because it's a very small number, right? Small number relatively to the 400 cubic meter per day. It's a relatively small, right? Right. So you can ignore that. You don't need to do any action. You just need to inform the team that today, right, you've missed 0.5 cubic meter of concrete, right? But if in the second day, you can just pour 350 cubic meter, right? And in that case, the deviation will be 50 cubic meter. Right, 50 cubic meter. So it's not relatively small anymore, but relatively large, right, in comparison to 400 kilometer. So that's your evaluation. It means this result may not be accepted or is unacceptable, right? And then you need to do the action. And there are three types of action you may need to consider in this case. First one, the corrective action. Since you just done like 350, you need 50 more. So you need to do more job. You know, you need to continue carrying out the work, the job, to finish with that 50 kilometers. Right, that's calculation. You mean you fix the result. Right, you fix the result. But, you know, ignore the first day. If you just mentioned concern about the second day, it's done with the high heat productivity of you. And the equipment you use is the only equipment you can mobilize for the job. Right. It means you cannot reach that 400 kilometer per day. You cannot reach that 400 kilometer per day, right? With your capability. You cannot reach that 400 kilometer per day. It means the standard is improper or incorrect or wrong. Why you plan to pour 400 kilometers while your high heat productivity is only 350? Right. So that's where the second type of action comes in. That's adjustment action. And it's often for this balance or for standard. And this is for the subject, the outcome. Right. And this is second type action. And anyone knows about the last one? The third? Last one? Mr. Nguyen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you think about the last one? Do you expect that you will experience the same situation in the future? Do you expect that you will experience the same situation in the future? You understand the question?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, you expect that? Do you? We are talking about the second example with 50 kilometers less than the bland or standard?
Uh,
So your answer will be yes or no? No,
no, no.
no. So how can you do that? How can you solve problem to not face the same situation in the future? How can you do that?
I don't know because I don't have experience here before.
You don't have experience before?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think either Sue or Mr. Quid.
Okay, Mr. Good.
Yes.
Experience measure. Okay, Mr. Good.
Yes, so it's my experience. So the first I need to look back the reason why it with the big deviation. And the second thing,
Okay.
I need to concern about the practical amount of concrete that you pouring per day. It's not the 400, it's the 315 cubic meter.
Mm.
I use
Okay, good.
that's the number for the next situation.
Okay, so it's for the future plans, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you will not alter the standards, right? You keep standards the same, right? But you have to avoid that. Sometimes it's not because of standard, right? Sometimes it's like something like something's wrong with the equipment. The equipment, is broken during the day, right? Or something's wrong with the concrete provider, concrete supplier, something like that, right? And the key thing is you need to find out the reason, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or more for the deviation, and then you have to develop some preventive action, right? Preventive action, not for that experience occurring again and again, right? So there are 3 types of actions that follow the controlling jobs, and you need to incorporate these preventive action into the plans for the next cycle. Right. That's why, even in this, you put them in a linear progress, a line from 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But actually, in reality, it is a cycle. It means controlling, we need to be connected to planning again and again. Understand? Controlling need to be connected to planning in the next cycle. Right. Okay. And these can show you the linkages between the functions in the management job. Okay. Right. You just need to review this table because it tells you something about some popular mistake made by managers in carrying out the functions. Right. Regarding the first one, the first function, planning, sometimes you are not establishing objectives for all important organizational areas. You just want to focus on only some areas of your organization, not all the important one, right? So in order to do the planning job properly, to avoid this mistake, you need to properly investigate all of your organization or the entire organization to find out the important areas that need to be planned, right? That need to be planned. Too risky. Like in normal day, you can do this job in 5 days, right? But you just put that in 2 days in normal condition. You can do that job in 5 days, but you put in the plans only 2 days. That's very risky for you, right? Or you may not explore enough viable alternatives for reaching objectives, right? You can just see like 1 or 2 choices and then you stop thinking about those, right? If you think more, you may find out some more viable alternatives, and then the chance for you to get the better one will be higher, right? People often based on their own experience, to develop the plans. For example, right? You just like design a building with some traditional components like frame, columns, etc. Right? Beam slab in concrete. You may not think of other solutions for slabs like U-boat, right? Like U-boat, like a beam something, right? Many types of structure alternatives for the slabs, right? That's planning. Similar for organizing, not establishing department appropriately, right? You know the position. You know that you need to develop or set out some position in your organization, right? But may not be enough. Right. And the next one, not only leading but influencing, right? Because one of the main job of the manager is a leader is to motivate people by influence them, right? In the mistake, maybe you may not take the time to communicate properly with organization members. So you don't know what they think, that you don't know what they, if they understand the job or not. You don't know about their strengths and weaknesses. You don't know much about their skills, and you don't know about their mood at work. Mood, M-O-O-D, mood at work, right? Someone who got a wife, has some illness at home, may not, care enough for the job, so don't give them in an important and urgent one. They may not do that properly, right? That's an example, right? Or you may not think enough to establish the communication network. That's why your communication network is improper to your job or organization, right? Or you just being a manager, you just like give orders to people. You just control them, right? But may not pay attention to influencing them through motivation systems. It means you are not a good leader. And for the last function, controlling, right? The very popular mistake is not monitoring progress in carrying out plans, right? People just assign a job to the subordinates and forget telling them about the deadlines, right? And the reporting system and the reporting requirements. Right, the reporting system. Right. So you may not monitor progress very well. Right. So remember, when you assign the job to anyone, you need to check not at the end of the progress, but during the progress, if they are doing something correctly or not, if they are doing the job properly or not. In progress, not only at the end, because when they have done or when they have completed the job, right, it will cost you a fortune to do the job again, right? So it means inefficient and even ineffective, right? So study this table, and then you can avoid, and I expect that you can avoid those mistakes in your managerial life. Okay. Right. In order for the managers to do their job well, right, they need to be equipped with some management skills. What are the skills? The skills can be defined as the ability to carry out the process of reaching organizational goals by working with and through people and other organizational resources. That's a skill. Ability, right? Ability, right? Ability to contribute to the objectives achievement of your organizational or job. Right. And there are a lot of point of views to the managerial skill, management skills. And in the classic view, people classify the skills into three groups. Mình xin lỗi tí nha, mình có cuộc gọi từ phòng đào tạo. Alo cô nghe. Phương nói nhưng anh đang dạy trên lớp. Không, anh có gửi lại file sáng nay rồi, em check ở anh đấy. Yeah. Không, em gửi lại, anh cứ đọc lại cái file gửi sáng nay của anh đấy nhé. Phương nhé. Okay, let's back in to our lecture. Right, in classic field, people differentiate between three groups of skills: technical, human, and conceptual. Right. Technical is about the knowledge and proficiency in a specific field. Like you are very good at designing green buildings, right? You are very good at calculating structures using ETAP or something like that, right? You are very good at Revit to develop the model for your buildings, right? You are very good at interior design as well, etc., right? These are the technical skills. Right. Technical skills is necessary for you, right, to do the job, to fulfill the requirements of the job. Right. And then the human skill. You know that in modern life, you may not work alone, right? You may not work alone. You need to work with people, right? And then you need to have an ability to work well with other people, right? Not only your staff, not only your subordinates, not only your bosses, not only your co-workers, right? but even people from outside your organization as well, right? You have to find out a way to communicate with them, right? To communicate with them, to know what they want, to know what they expect from your job, right? Etc. And then you can together contribute to the success of the job, right? So some aspect of the human some skill can be considered as communication, right? When you want to tell someone about something, you expect that they will understand what you mean, communication, right? You want to deliver a message. You want to deliver a message to a person, right? That's a communication skill. And second is negotiation, right? Sometimes you have to negotiate with your friends, with your coworkers, because there's some conflicts in mobilizing the resources for the job. For example, you've got only one, you are sharing one computers, right? One laptop, on PC, personal computer, right? It's very strong to do some type of specific jobs, right? We are sharing one, and you have to discuss with each other to use that, in the most efficiently way, right? It means you have to make timetable for using that. You use today, and then it's my turn, for example, right, etc. And the next group is conceptual skill, right? It's about the ability to think and conceptualize about abstract and complex situation concerning the organization, right? Someone needs to collect data or information and then have to generalize the bit of data, right, into a theory, a model, something more abstract, right? And this can help them to understand the complex situation, right, that the organization are concerned about, right? Some example about conceptual skills: using information to solve business problems, right? There are some business problems, and then the managerial staffs need to collect data, transform them into information, and then analyze information to have some solutions for the problems. Or selecting critical information from masses of data. In the world of IoT, Internet of Things, IoT, right? In the world of IoT, Internet of Things, right? There's a massive information, available for you. It's easier for you because you may have more information to collect, to use for your own job. But it will create some difficulty because you don't know what information you should take and what information you should ignore, right? So it's like a skill, very good skill, if you can select the critical one from that masses of data, for example, the pool or sea of data, right? And that's a very important conceptual skill for the manager. And another one is to understand the organization's business model. You need to know about the business model of your organization. How can they generate income? How can the organization generate income? That's the business model. right? You need to know that. And your job will be contribute to that, right? Your activity will be contribute to that. Will contribute to that, right? That's why you need to know about this model. You need to understand that very properly, right? And this is some more. This is some conceptual skill. And if you want to know more of those, you can ask the Dr. Google, right? Dr. Google can tell you a lot more about conceptual skills, right? So in this perspective, there are three groups of skills: technical, human skills, and conceptual skills. But people in different levels of the organization, we need, different levels of those skills. Even managers need more technical skill and less conceptual skill. You see, the color, the density of the color here, right? It's high density, it's lesser, and it's less. But the top managers need more conceptual skill, but less technical skill. Because their job is about what? About dealing with people, about something like a very, very strategic, not very detailed, not very technical, right? And this figures show you more. Right. The top managers need more conceptual skill, less human skill, and least technical skill. The middle managers need a little bit technical skill, a little of human skills, and a little of conceptual skills. But the supervisor or operational management, it means the first line managers just need, mostly technical skills, but a little bit about conceptual skills. Right. Another view about management skills. Right. The skills about clarifying roles. You've got a number of people as subordinates, and you can assign the job to them. Right. And you need to have a skill to do that better. You have to know how to clarify the roles and then assign the tasks to people under your management. Or skill to monitor the operation, how to check on the progress, right? How to ensure the quality or to check the quality of the work, how to evaluate individual and unit performance. A short-term planning skills, or even long-term as well, or some consulting skills, supporting skills, recognizing skills, and developing skills. Right. You may want to use your own time to study this table, more thoroughly. Right. And, as a managers in modern days, people often believe that they need to be equipped with the comprehensive management skills, not only individual skills like this, but something, in combination, and it's called comprehensive management skills. Right. And nowadays, people pay more attention about the skills that can help the managers to cope with the modern management challenges, right? Like the corporate social responsibilities. Nowadays, people require, the community require more and more that the organizations will have some corporate social requirements. Corporate social responsibility. community requires more responsibility, social responsibility from the corporations, from the companies. Right. For example, a very long time ago, right, we approved for Vedan, right, to build up a plant, a factory in the south of Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City, right? A factory. And we didn't check very carefully about the operation, right? And then the waste, right? Yeah, you know that, right? The wastage management is not very well, right? And we now require the Vedan to pay for that. That they have created to our community. Right? We require more social responsibility from them. Another example, you know that the construction company now, not only the contractors, but also other type of companies that operate in the construction market and construction industry, right? Like the consultancy company as well, or even the clients in construction. They often recruit engineers and architects from the universities, right? And before they just like require or set up some requirements, you know, for the newcomer from university. But now they contribute more to the training the new engineers or potential engineers by providing internship, right? Internship or the location for practice, right? Before graduation to the students from architects and engineering university. It means this social responsibility is now being better and better, getting better and better, right? Right. And in a broadened range, corporate responsibility is something like about the to protect and improve both the welfare of the society and the interests of the organization. Right. And the diversity skills, right, especially in the multinational organization, right, right. You've got a very, very clear diversity in there, right? And because they are from different ethnic groups, so they've got a different culture, right? Different culture, different habits, different behavior as well, right? And the managers need to know about that, right? And they need to establish and maintain, you know, something in common to keep and develop the workforce. And in nowadays, that workforce is a representative of a combination of a sort of human characteristics, right? Not to allow the conflicts, especially the culture conflicts, occur in the organization. To keep the organization as a unite, right? Right? Or something about the global management skill, some interrelated with the diversity in terms of ethnic groups, right? And the last one is entrepreneurial skills, right? To work as an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurship skill to work as an entrepreneur, to identify, to evaluate, and exploit the opportunities to get benefit for their own organization, right? Regarding the first groups, planning function, right? The manager needs to have some skill about doing the plan or developing the plans, right? Determining the objectives, right? And define the activities that need to be done as well. Right. And the decision-making skill, yeah, I told you before, right? We talked about this before. And then you choose the best choice, right? And something longer term, strategic planning skill, and the planning tool skill as well. For organizing function, right, you need to think of using your resources efficiently and effectively, how to mobilize them within your management system. And the second one is working with people. Working with people. When you talk about the responsibility of each position, the obligation for each position is the owner's in charge. And the empowerment, it means you will give power to someone to do the job instead of you, right? For example, if you got a vice deputy, you are the head, and you got a vice or deputy, you give them some power, and then you give them a range to operate, and they can decide anything within that range, right? That delegation skill, right? People often don't prefer that because they want to keep power for themselves. They want to keep power, and sometimes just because they don't believe that their deputy can work as good as they do. They don't believe that the deputy can work as good as they do, right? As well as they do, right? And something about human resources management. And nowadays, people are paying more attention about organizational change skill. Organizational change, right? Because of the change in the external environment as well as the internal environment as well, right? So the managers need to know how to deal with the change when they occur, and also can maintain the goal and objective achievement within the change while the change is occurring, right? For leading, we are talking about the communication skills, right? You need to communicate well with people under your subordinates, under you as subordinates. You need to be equipped with the leadership skill, how to direct the behaviors of the subordinates to work something that they believe is correct, to motivate people, and also the team working skill as well, right? Some more about leadership skill. You need to think of the culture, you need to think of the creativity and innovation, right? And those skills are also needed, right, for a leader as well as a manager. And the last function is about controlling. controlling, right, controlling function, right, two set of skills regarding controlling and production, right. The managers may not be the one that is involved directly to the production processes as a worker, right? But we need to know how progress the production process will be in order to manage, right, the progress of resources transformation from inputs to outputs in the organization, right? And this is a table summarize the management skills and function, right? Some more skills, and they are grouped, in the relation with the functions that they would at to do well at, right? You can see the list in the table: acquiring power, active listening, budgeting, choosing an effective leadership style, coaching, coach in football, right?
Yes, I know.
Soccer, yeah, coaching. The one who teach them and who instructs them, right? Okay, yeah. So we got another list, right, to refer to, right? Yeah, as the management skills, and you can relate them to the functions, of the management job, right? And you think, or some of them may be very important to your position, like negotiating, right? And sometimes you may need to do some mentoring as well. And mentoring is and coaching, mentoring coaching is the same in leading function. Coaching and mentoring is same in leading function, but they're a little bit different. They're a little bit different, right? Coaching is something like can be the people who do the planning job as well for people, right? And mentoring is like something that just. So you got this number here, I got, right? This is reading material. No, sorry, because I opened the wrong book. not the yeah, not the main textbook, but the reading material. This is this one. This is the one, right? Sorry, guys. Sometimes my mic is not working. Okay. So you can review this. Problems, right? You can just review the problem, and then you can get together to find out the solutions for that, to answer the questions, right? Right. This about the skills needed to manage in Vietnam, and we want to use your own time to read through the text first. Some researchers investigated the skills necessary to be a successful manager in Vietnam, and they focus on the opinions of practicing managers in Vietnam in generating their list of skills for managerial success. Right. They ask managers in an interview format to tell a story of what nightmare or biggest challenge in the management positions. Also ask the skills necessary. Right. they interviewed for 50 local Vietnamese managers and 20 managers from other country. And also, yeah, the managers that have been interviewed go from a number of firms in various industry, from Chuvainer Vietnamese Business Center, Hanoi, and Ho Chi Minh City. And do you think that the local Vietnamese and foreign managers suggested the same skills for managerial success in Vietnam? That's a question for you. Why and why not? Do you think that the local Vietnamese and foreign managers suggested the same skills for managerial success in Vietnam? Why? What do you think, guys? Hưng? Your idea?
I think these skills of local Vietnamese and foreign managers is not the same.
Same?
It's not the same. Yeah, because
No. So?
Because Vietnamese managers will face with other problems in Vietnam, like in different in laws.
Law. But remember that we are talking about doing business in Vietnam, not in foreign country. You know, managerial success in Vietnam, it means one of the activities will be in Vietnam, not in Cambodia or in the UK or Taiwan. Yeah? So the foreigners come to Vietnam to work.
Okay.
Yeah. Regulated in law, right? Same regulated system.
I think it's still different.
It's different?
Yeah, it's affected by Vietnamese culture and cultural working, and so it leads to different skills between two kind of managers.
Okay, any more ideas from others members class?
It's my opinion. I think the Vietnamese local manager and the foreigner managers, they suggest different the skill, because I think with the different background, they have to training in the university and they work in other country. They will other skill to management work, and different the outcome, different the goal. Say they will decide to using such skill to management in work. So I think it's different between the Vietnamese and the foreigner.
Okay, thank you. How about others, Mr. Ling or Mr. Nguyen? What do you think?
I think like Mr. Chris,
Okay.
in foreign, they learn about managers and in Vietnam, they focus on many technical skill. So I think it's different.
Okay, and the last one, Nguyen. What do you think?
I think manager in Vietnam is influenced by local culture and political system, so it's a little different.
Okay, good. I think the first thing you need to consider as the reason for the differences is the perception of what can be considered as a nightmare and challenge. Nightmare and challenge can be perceived differently among the foreigners and Vietnamese. You understand? What we call nightmare, the foreigners may not think the nightmare. What we call challenge, the foreigners may not call challenge. Of course, there are some similarities, right? Something in common, right? What we think nightmare and they also think nightmare. What we think challenge and they may think challenge as well. But there are some differences, right? What we consider nightmare, but they will not consider nightmare, right? For example, working with foreigners for us can be considered as a challenge because of the language barriers, right? But for the one who work internationally, they may not think it is a challenge because they are good at English, for example. You understand? Right. So, right. That's just an example, right? And another challenge comes from the managers themselves. The managers themselves, right? They themselves may not keep the rule, may not follow the rule. That's a challenge, right? So they may not oblige the rule for the entire organization because that's them. They are the people who not follow the rule, who don't follow the rule, right? Very strictly. Example, right? So example. And then they can lead to the differences between the perceptions of the skills for managerial success in Vietnam. Right? Even they are working in the same context. They do businesses in the same market in Vietnam, right? But they may face different challenges and may perceive different like nightmares at work, right? Okay, so there are a lot of things to practice. If you have your own some more time, you can read through some related chapters in even the main textbook and even this one, right? And remember that in our plan we got some of the presentation, and I've sent the requirements for the first and the second presentation through the Zalo group. Okay, and you have to group. Yeah, you have to group yourself, and then start preparing for that. According to our plan. The presentation will be on what meeting? The one after the next one. Okay, we are now on the second, and we got next week for the third, and then will be the first presentation. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you do the group yourself, right? You do the group yourself. I don't force you. You can choose, and then start preparing for that presentation. Number one. Yeah.
Yes.
And any question occurs, just contact me. Okay. Okay. And I think that's enough for today.
Yes.
Is that okay? Yeah. Right.
Okay. Bye bye.
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 See you later.
Yeah. See you later.